closed-door meetings that could open the door to football in Houston. Tonight, a record-breaking bid is on the table. Houston's play for an NFL team. Tonight's big story.
Good evening, everyone. Cambrell is in for Bill.
In just a matter of hours, we should know if Houston is getting the 32nd NFL franchise.
Our big story tonight, Houston's NFL shot. After 3 hours of meetings, league owners started the countdown clock for a critical decision that may hinge on a $700 million proposal by Houston businessman Bob McNair. Tonight, all the players are in Atlanta, and so is News 2 Houston anchor Susan Lennon. She joins us live tonight. Susan?
Linda, members of the expansion committee call it a night, not being able to come up with a decision on whether to even grant a 32nd franchise. But they do insist they will make that decision tomorrow morning.
There was no recommendation formed. That's something that's going to be done tomorrow morning. The committee's meeting again.
After 3 hours of meetings, members of the expansion committee have not come to a decision.
I think that the committee will go in tomorrow morning into the league meeting with a recommendation regarding a 32nd team.
Earlier today, Bob McNair arrived here in Atlanta ready for action.
We're happy to have the opportunity to hopefully bring this to a conclusion. We've been working on it a long time, and so we're ready for some decisions. We'd like to see that happen.
Steve Patterson was even more optimistic.
I think there's the makings of a deal.
And that deal is now on the table, worth a reported $700 million. Is that how much money we're willing to pay for an NFL?
I'm not supposed to talk about price.
Tonight, all the NFL will say is that McNair's proposal is impressive and that they are confident a decision will be made tomorrow. Now, Bob McNair is very, very positive about the way his proposal went tonight. He feels very good about it. He talked to our own Steve Mark, and that story is coming up later on in sports. For now, we're live in Atlanta. I'm Susan Lennon.
Well, it appears Houstonians think McNair's chances and hopes will come true, and we will get a team. In an exclusive News to Houston opinion poll, 72% of you said that you think we will be awarded a franchise. 21% said you don't. 8% aren't sure. And of the 500 Houstonians asked to decide the name game, should we get a team, 24% of you wanted the Texans, 16% like the Wranglers. Houston Hurricanes got 14% of the vote. The Roustabouts came in last with 1%. By the way, the rest of the respondents chose other. If Houston gets a team, it would mean a second retractable roof facility in Houston, along with the Astros' new home, Enron Field. There is talk the livestock show and rodeo would be held in the new football stadium located next to the Dome. So, tomorrow morning, the league commissioner will meet with the expansion committee at 8 a.m. Houston time. At 9, they are expected to make their decision about the franchise public. Then all owners will meet. And we will, of course, have the very latest on Houston's shot at an NFL team live from Atlanta.
That McNair had and Steve Patterson had. As you know, they've been working on this for a very long time, and they came in here yesterday very confident with very deep pockets, really going in there with everything they had, very serious about bringing an NFL team to Houston.
I think we can also say one of the other factors was that Los Angeles has 2 baseball teams, and they both stink, and we have a really good one here. Maybe they threw that into the mix.
You didn't know we had a comedian, did you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Susan, well, keep us posted on everything that happens in Atlanta. So far, it is very good news for Houston, and it's worth noting that if the expansion team is approved by owners, projected play would begin in 2002 at a stadium that has already been approved by voters next to the Astrodome.
Now, there is the possibility that stadium would not be completed by then, and the NFL has already figured out that if we're at a worst-case scenario, they would play in the Dome for 1, maybe 2 seasons until the stadium was done. That's another thing. The $700 million offer does not include the stadium. So you throw the stadium in here and the public funds that were available, the private sector kicking in, we're talking about a deal that is an additional $350 million maybe. So it's $1,050 million.
It's a lot of money, isn't it?
Oh, my goodness. Well, this, if it goes down at $700 million, will be the most ever paid for a sports franchise in the history of the world. All records are being broken. The Dallas Cowboys are not worth $700 million.
All right. Well, we're going to continue to follow this story throughout the day as more developments come in. Stay with News to Houston. We are your source on the NFL coming to Houston.
This has been situation, but as of right now, it appears that Houston chances are very good indeed that the Bob McNair, the Houston businessman, has won an NFL franchise for Houston.
All right, Fort Atkinson reporting live from Atlanta. Very good news so far for Houston's chances of landing that NFL team. Of course, it is not final, but we will be checking in with Fort Atkinson as we receive more information. And right now, we go back to our regularly scheduled programming.
Team is our big story today. News to Houston has learned that an expansion committee signed a document which now must be approved, and once that happens, it goes to the NFL owners.
The ownership in general, Bob McNair and his attorneys and the NFL signing the documents about 6:30 this morning. It goes to the expansion committee. That committee is voting right now. They are expected to further their recommendation on to the 31 owners gathered there in Atlanta. L.A. people quoted as saying they were blown away by Houston's Texas-sized offer, and the L.A. offer as much as $300 million short of what Houston had to offer. Michael Ovitz and his group again saying we can't counter that.
All right, we're going to continue to follow this story. Stay with us. In the meantime, Don Armstrong is coming up next with traffic.
I'm very pleased to announce that the member clubs have approved Houston as the NFL's 32nd franchise.
Words that are music to businessman Bob McNair's ears.
This is a great day for Houston, and I hope a great day for football.
Now, live team coverage of the Touchdown Houston. NFL football on its way back to the Bayou City. The good news is our big story this afternoon here on News 2 Houston, first at 4.
All right, what do you think, Houston? 32nd franchise team, Touchdown Houston, got official approval from league owners this morning, and anticipation has turned, of course, into celebration. News 2 Houston has live team coverage of today's big event. It came this morning from the NFL owners meeting in Atlanta.
And that's where News 2 Houston Steve Mark is live with the very latest. Steve?
Well, as late as yesterday, the NFL gave Los Angeles every courtesy and still yet another chance to win the expansion bid. In the end, it was Bob McNair's cold, hard cash that brought the NFL back to Houston.
I think the key thing was both the quality of the stadium, the fan interest in the NFL in Texas, and the quality of the ownership in Bob McNair.
NFL Commissioner Paul Tagliabue signals the end of Houston's NFL drought. From the uncertainty of the Oilers' final years in Texas to the expansion war with Los Angeles that Houston lost in March, then won back here in Atlanta.
We've done our due diligence. We've done our homework. Everything is in place, and it became obvious, I think, to everyone that that this was just a very solid proposal.
At 3 this morning, McNair's attorneys finished their detailed work with the league. Then a half hour before the expansion committee met, McNair signed the $700 million agreement.
And I think it's really a great story about dreaming the great dreams and pulling them off. A lot of people didn't think we'd do it, but we did.
McNair's new partners praised the deal.
They were determined to have that NFL team and have this expansion franchise come to Houston. I'm really, I'm glad that they were rewarded.
They were. McNair gets a team in the AFC, the same conference as the Oilers, the former Oilers and now Titans. They'll begin play in 2002 and a Super Bowl to come to Houston 2 years after that. We're live in Atlanta. I'm Steve Mark.
And Bob McNair's Houston touchdown was the result of a long, patient drive. Here's how he scored with NFL owners. The expansion franchise was approved by a 29-0 vote with 2 owners abstaining. By the way, former Houston Oilers, now Tennessee Titans owner Bud Adams voted in favor of a team for Houston, and the 2004 Super Bowl will be played right here in the Bayou.
Coming up on NFL Tonight, these two cities both lost an NFL franchise. Now one of them gets one back. We'll tell you which city was awarded the NFL's newest expansion team. Hi, everybody, and welcome to NFL Tonight, the place the pros tune in to get all their X's and O's information. Mark Malone along with Mike Golick, and we can say Houston again.
Absolutely. Houston, we do not have a problem anymore.
We do not have a problem. Finally, we get a 32nd football team in the National Football League, and that's where we start our news. Hello, Houston. The NFL has landed. After losing the Oilers to Tennessee following the 1996 season, Houston returns to the NFL. The decision announced by NFL Commissioner Paul Tagliabue came after months of indecision, in which the league at one point conditionally awarded a franchise to Los Angeles, but the deadline came and went without LA coming up with a suitable stadium proposal. Houston businessman Bob McNair met with League's expansion committee Tuesday and won the approval of his $700 million bid for the expansion franchise. And with a $310 million retractable roof stadium included, the Houston deal would be worth more than $1 billion.
Houston is a first-class major league city, and I think it's important that we have the major league sports there, and to not have the NFL there was just something that was unacceptable to me. And I'm happy to say that that condition is not going to exist for much longer. And I'm proud of Houston, and I know that it'll be a great showcase for the NFL.
Well, the name of the Houston team is not set, but Commissioner Tagliabue said it would not be Oilers. McNair said that the retractable roof stadium will be completed for the team to play in its first season in the year 2002. Now, ESPN The Magazine's John Clayton joins us now with more on the league's decision to bypass the second largest TV market. And John, you told us on Tuesday night that a decision didn't seem imminent. What happened over the past 24 hours?
What happened was in the late night, all the pieces started to fall together. The fact that they get down there, they find out for sure that it's a $700 million bid by Bob McNair, and second, that he can justify it financially from his end because he's able to put a Super Bowl together for the year 2004 in Houston. And so that worked out, and you couple that with the idea that here's L.A., they got two different groups down there, they were bickering, they weren't going to be able to get it done after 5 years, and so what happened, they wake up this morning, 8:30, they have the quick vote, and they go with the committee vote for Houston, and then, of course, the league goes with 29 owners voting for Houston.
Well, in my eyes, they did absolutely the right thing. They were just trying to shove a team in L.A. because it's the #2 market and make it somewhat Hollywood. But I talked to Bob McNair earlier today, and he said, listen, we did all the right things. We got the money set. We've got the stadium set. We're all square on every avenue out in L.A. They're not really sure what's going on. But I think one of the things that turned it for the owners, outside of the obvious fact of the money, is the fact that there was a football team in Houston before. If this was a city where there hadn't been a team established at one time, it might have been a little tougher. And the only reason that attendance went down was because it was a lame duck team. They knew they were moving. It was interesting in talking to Bob McNair as we were speaking, his phone rang. I said, oh, that might be the commissioner to let you know. He said, no, I think it's the bank, and they're asking me what the heck am I doing?
Hi, Craig. Bob McNair's expansion victory is a combination of persuasion and perseverance, and that combination made a hefty deal for the NFL owners and a near unanimous vote that returns the NFL back to Houston.
Some people say it's sort of David and Goliath battle. We don't like to think of Houston, the fourth largest city in the nation, as David.
Actually, Houston was both David and Goliath, on and off, since Los Angeles won the expansion bid in March. As summer wore on, the California bids became more fragmented. Houston was the front runner, but closer to the original September 15th deadline, Michael Ovitz re-entered the serious picture, and all that did was drive up McNair's price, which McNair was all too happy to pay, with the following stipulation. 2 days ago, McNair told the league he would put up a letter of credit, but that would expire tonight at midnight, meaning if the owners planned to delay their vote and renege on its original promise to McNair, McNair would pull his offer off the table.
I think it's a great choice, as I just mentioned. They've had a franchise there in the past. It was successful. We used to always go down there and get beat. Very successful.
I'm just really excited. Bob McNair is a great guy, and you know, he wanted the franchise badly. He just did a great job, the city and himself, partnershiping, and we have a great new owner there, and we're excited about that.
A lot of people say, well, boy, Jerry, you had rather not have the competition for the NFL fan. It's just the opposite. I want a team down there that's exciting and can compete because that just enhances the interest in NFL football.
Red McCombs, one of the latest owners to swing from against expansion or on the fence to pro-Houston.
Well, I think the key was just the patience of waiting until the thing was just totally massaged, which it was in every direction.
It is important to note that there were no votes in the Houston ratification. That means Bud Adams, who was very strongly against expansion, voted for this expansion to his hometown. Of the two abstentions from Arizona and St. Louis, those were because of ramifications of realignment, and Bob McNair is very, very pleased and has no problem that the NFL will have to realign because of what happened today here in Atlanta. We're live in Atlanta. I'm Steve.
Thank you, Sherry. Football fans in Houston are delighted that our city will once again have an NFL team. There were tears of joy and call-ins to sports talk shows to revel in the good news.
Houston has been awarded a new National Football League franchise.
Enron's chief Ken Lay broke the news to a crowd assembled to celebrate their United Way campaign, the Astros, and their new Enron field. He says football's return will help everyone in sports.
Having all professional sports, it does help each one of them, because we have some very avid sports fans, and to have football, basketball, have baseball, have hockey, I think all of that's good for the city.
It's a great morning to be a Houston sports fan, I can tell you that.
Sports Talk Radio also crackled with excitement about Houston expanding its wide world of sports.
I'm very thrilled to see that we're going to get some football back in this town. I got a couple nicknames to throw at you. Now I'm going to talk about the Astros, the Houston Vipers, or the Houston Hurricanes.
Even Bob McNair, the man who secured Houston's new football team, took to the radio airwaves.
I'm very optimistic that we're going to meet all these conditions. I think there's enough enthusiasm in Houston, enough support that we're going to put this thing together.
It's about time Houston brought back a football team into the city. We really needed it. It was a loss when the Oilers went to Tennessee.
I thought that the NFL bent over backwards to make sure that LA would get the team, and the fact that we've been awarded it is phenomenal. I'm very excited.
Houston deserves a football team. It's a football town, it's a football country, and it's a natural for Houston.
The only thing undecided now is what to call the new team.
I don't know, Houston Hurricanes, I guess. That sounds good. What about you?
I really hadn't thought about it. Oh, God, I don't know. I don't have a clue. I didn't know we had a team.
Something good, something nice, different than the Oilers.
That's the only thing that we are sure of at this point. The NFL says the new team will not be called the Oilers.
Now, even though there hasn't been an official name selected for our new team, McNair says he'll be asking fans for suggestions, adding that the name should reflect our area, the culture, and provide us with a sense of pride. The McNair Group has already reserved 4 domain names: the Houston Roughnecks, the Roustabouts, the Texans, and the Toros.
We're actually in the setup stage here, and I'm on the stage hoping that you'll come down to center stage because it's free. That's the best reason for you to come, to celebrate, of course, our new football team that will be here in 2002. We are in the area of Bayou Place and Jones Hall. If you want to come into downtown to take part in this, a good way to come would be possibly Allen Parkway. You can cut over to Bagby and then take Texas over. That's what I did. It worked for me. I pass it on to you. In the meantime, we're in the setup stage here. We're expecting thousands of people and a lot of guests. That in a moment. But in the meantime, we're all here to celebrate Houston's 32nd football team. Can you believe it? It has been 1 week since Bob McNair's group put the news on the net in the form of a website, and that is exactly where you can find all the latest and greatest info about Houston's new team, as many of you already have.
Since then, the totals were nearing 2.5 million people have hit on the website since its inception a week ago, which is a great response and just kind of adds fuel to the fire that Houston is football crazy.
And believe it or not, 42,000 people have already committed to season tickets, and we're still, what, 3 years away? That's enthusiasm for you. Now, Cambrell, I must mention to our audience that I did lobby to have you come down here today because I didn't want to have to do this all by myself. But, you know, they said somebody had to stay there and hold down the fort, so I'm sorry, buddy. Next time.
2 prominent former Oilers, including Earl Campbell, who in the last few years has tried to stay neutral on the move of the Oilers out of Houston, and Ray Childress, who's been involved in Bob McNair's early meetings for prospective investors.
I mean, I think it's fantastic for Houston to be able to have an NFL team again. I think there's great fans here in Houston. I really enjoy playing in front of them, and I'm going to enjoy watching games now.
I also hope in them doing this that maybe some of the old guys that play like myself and Bum Phillips and those kind of guys will have some kind of input on what goes on.
Brought football back.
The coach who personified the glory days of Houston's first foray into the NFL was thrilled to see the game return to Houston.
Last year, when the Houston left, when Oilers left, we beat on the door. And then last year, when they started expanding, they kicked on the door. This year, McNair kicked it in.
I'm glad you didn't do your exact quote because we wouldn't have been able to use it.
I know. That's what confused me. In the middle of it, I realized I couldn't.
Yeah, we'd have had to beep that.
Yes, I know that.
And the greatest Oiler of them all wants to take an active part in Houston's new NFL team.
I thought about, gee, I hope in some capacity, to be honest, Earl Campbell would have something to say about maybe what goes on.
Have you talked to Mr. McNair about you possibly having something to do with this team?
No, I haven't, and I think those are some decisions, and I'm just one of probably a billion he got on his mind right now.
And the biggest topic of discussion downtown today was the name of the new team.
Well, probably what we'll do is maybe take 10 or so of the most popular names and maybe put those on our website and let people vote on those 10 or 15 names.
Tagliabue and city and county leaders officially broke ground for a new stadium that will house the expansion football team and the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. The stadium is scheduled to open in August 2002 and will be the first ever retractable dome stadium for pro football. Oh, and by the way, the leading suggestions on a team name, we have the Apollos, we have the Stallions, and the Texans. So we have some tough choices to make.
Houston Texans, Apollos. Glad it's not up.
It's good to get football up front, isn't it? Dan Marino will retire this Monday, saying no to playing in Minnesota or to go back to the Dolphins. And Houston, of course, today began its run toward opening a new home for that new team. The new stadium had its ground broken today and a lot near the dome. It'll make the dome look like one of those old sheds you put the rake and mower in out behind the house. 2 years to complete, and the commission thinks the team might match the building.
I think one of the messages that has to go out here from here today is to the Steelers and the Broncos, to the Dolphins and the Bills and everybody in the NFL, beware again of Houston.
Team is as ahead of schedule when they begin play less than a year from now.
I was talking to Miller McCalman, who's director of scouting for the Texans, and he said the league is so even this year after 2 weeks. If they get a couple of really good players, he thinks they've got a great chance to win some games next year.
What do you say we go to the podium right now, listen to Bob McNair as he and his wife Janice are about to unveil the newest colors of the inaugural Houston Texans.
Watch out. So here we go. Let's start with a countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
What do you think? They look pretty good.
I do. I like them a lot. The white jerseys are the road uniforms. Those will have matching blue pants with red and blue stripe. And then on the right-hand side, the navy blue jerseys, the home jersey, and that will, of course, go with corresponding white pants with the red and blue trim. I think it's a sharp, sharp look. What do you think?
I do. I like it a lot. They had toyed with the idea of going with the white helmets. They go with the steel blue helmet. I happen to have one that I'm holding right here, which I'm guessing a guy handed it to me. It must be mine. It's probably too small for this gourd head I have, but that's a good look, and that's the road uniform right there.
You got
and that'll be the one that Chris will present his challenge, and it'll be all right. Now, if they get it, what are the chances they get a guy named Houston? That'll be all right.
In that case, the guy stitching the names, they'll have one less jersey to stitch. But if you want to try that helmet on, I'll hold your microphone.
No, I probably can't get it over my head.
Of course, I like how Mr. McNair earlier, this is blue, steel blue, and this is battle red with white. He really likes these colors. He was emphatic about it earlier, and I think this is a great start, yet another great step in this franchise's history.
We figure there's got to be 2,500, 3,000 people down here ready to buy some of these jerseys, etc. So September 8th, 2002, that's when they put them on for real.
And the jerseys go on in college first, but there's going to be that type of interest. There's going to be a lot of speculation of who's going to be the first pick and what kids are going to actually be starring for this team. And before I guess we get to the unveiling, let me ask you, what's your pick? Do you have an idea?
Well, I'm going to go with the common name, the Texans and Bob McNair. How about that?
We'll find out right now. Here he is, the man of the hour, Bob McNair.
You wanted a look that is timeless, not trendy. Our logo and colors should be consistent with other NFL teams, but we should be unique and true to Houston. You wanted an animal icon that is powerful and intimidating. I'm proud to stand in front of you today and say that we think we've achieved that goal. We hope that we've created a look for your new NFL team that you can be proud of. To introduce the 32nd team in the National Football League, we asked Commissioner Tagliabue and the great folks at NFL Films to produce a short video to portray the spirit you described. Let's see that video.
Texas, there's a modern vision for success that is symbolized by the spirit of the bull. Like the proud people of Houston, the bull stands for strength, power, and independence. From the small towns to the big cities, these qualities are a Texas tradition, just like the game of football. The city of Houston, with its eyes on the future, is once again set to charge through the National Football League.
What is the spirit of the bull? It's the embodiment of the spirit of our people. At the heart is a five-pointed star that stands for pride, courage, strength, tradition, and independence. Collectively, these five traits form the spirit of the bull. These five words could only describe one thing: Texan. As Texans, we will reflect the distinctive and modern interpretation of the Texas state flag. On Sunday afternoons during the fall, we'll wrap ourselves in battle red, deep steel blue, and liberty white. And Houston will once again charge through the National Football League in search of glory for Houston and Texas and Texans everywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to be a Houstonian. And I'm proud to be a Texan. And so with great pride and anticipation, I introduce to you your Houston Texans.
There you have it, Bob McNair, a big surprise, right?
It was a little ambiguous at first. I didn't know. I thought maybe they were going to throw us for a loop, but here you see it, the uniform. Excuse me, I didn't say the uniform, the logo on the helmet, and there you got the T-shirt. It looks pretty good to me. I like what I see. I like the red, white, and blue.
He said that they're going to be in battle red, steel blue, and liberty white. Those are the colors that we're going to take into battle on Sunday afternoons. They're rocking here, and a lot of people weren't necessarily sure that they liked the Texans, but they sure love it here today.
I was going to say timeless, not tacky, or not trendy, I should say. And the people did seem to really embrace this idea. They love their Texans, and they are back here in Houston for play beginning in 2002. Everybody seems elated with the decision.
They do indeed, and they talk about pride, courage, strength, tradition, and independence as being all part of what's going on with the flag wrapping themselves in the battle flag. Battle colors of red, and this is a great color, and I think everyone's going to be very happy.
Berserk at the television in the Dome and the press box had an Astros game on, and the Astros weren't thrilled with Bud Adams' guys either. Now, for goodness sake, there seems to be harmony. Bob McNair, the most popular man in town, threw out the first pass of tonight's Astro game. Watch Drayton. He's got little Billy White shoes in him, I think. Unusual twist, something new. If you didn't know better, you'd think the Texans were playing this Sunday.
I tell you, my receiver did an outstanding job. I was really pleasantly surprised. We're tendering a contract to him.
In the tradition of the Houston Astros, we had to show we were champions. So the first athletic move by the new Houston Texans was a winning pass.
The festival-like atmosphere saw former South Carolina punter Billy Spires try on the new helmet. I'm guessing the next fly ball hit to him would be, well, it would turn into a fair catch. Only seems now we actually get to the game at hand.
Creative, I'll say that for you.
Great pride and anticipation, I introduce to you your Houston Texans.
Bob McNair of Class X says he's proud to be a Houstonian, proud to be a Texan, thus to the Texans, and this is their helmet. That's the look. What do you think, guys?
Well, I'd be proud of it, too, but I don't like a white helmet. Do you?
Well, I like the dark helmet, but I tell you what, it is a good-looking helmet, and I think it's really a tribute to the state of Texas and the city of Houston, and I hope they do well.
Well, that's too political. The truth of the whole matter is...
Wait, I am a political
You're
guy.
a political guy?
I'm always trying to be politically correct.
Hey, the Houston Jerrys came in second, got a bunch of votes.
Yeah, they came
all
in
my
second.
friends down
The
there.
black and purple look was a close second to this, all right? They'll begin play, by the way, in the year 2000.
Now, are they in the AFC or the NFC? We'll find out, but pretty sharp, huh? Texans.
That's all they're playing with?
Yep, I'm going to try out down there, too.
You want that coordinator.
Oh, well.
For those of you getting an early game, which is...
Welcome to America's fourth largest city. After 5 seasons without football, the NFL is back. The Houston Texans take off on their journey. Next, live.
CLS's go for ET, LO2, pressurization.
Cap Thomas, this is Flight Control. Do we have a response from Expedition 4? Negative, Flight. We have no word from Expedition 4. They are aware the clock is running. Houston, stand by, Flight. Go ahead, Expedition 4. Houston, we have a collection. You are go for liftoff. Maintain propulsion and velocity. We have reached maximum payload. That's one small step for man. Watch your trajectory. Keep it steady. Steady. Touchdown. One giant leap for mankind. Gentlemen, welcome to the expansion drive. Houston, we solved your problem. Roger that.
And we are live inside the Brown Convention Center in downtown Houston, where the Texans fans and representatives of the other 31 NFL teams have come to watch Team 32 start to be put together. We're inside the draft room of the Houston Texans, where Dom Capers and company will make the selections today. Charlie Casserly, the general manager, putting together really some significant cornerstones to this franchise. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy President's Day with Sterling Sharp and Ron Jaworski, Mike Tirico. Welcome to the expansion draft. The last expansion draft we'll probably see for a while, but a very exciting day. We've been in Houston all weekend, and we can tell you they're ready for their football to come back.
If the guy's taking number one that we believe is going to be taking number one, tone and tempo is going to be set right away for this football team, because if it's Tony Baselli, they're going to be mean, they're going to be nasty,
and they're going to be to deal with.
There is no doubt about it. There is depth not only at Tony Bazzelli's position, but the offensive line in general. If you're a quarterback or running back, you come to this Texan franchise, you're going to have some beef in front of you. You're going to have protection as a quarterback and room to run as a running back.
Chris Mortensen and John Clayton are here with us in Houston as well. We'll be hearing from them throughout the 2 hours, including some significant NFL news. But Gene Washington, the Director of Football Operations for the National Football League, is set to get the draft going.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It's good to be back in Houston. Welcome to the Houston Texans expansion draft. To all of you, the 3,000 fans live here in Houston today, and a national television audience on ESPN, the time is here. The Houston Texans are on the clock.
Well, with the Texans on the clock, here are the rules they are working under for this expansion draft. They can take between 30 and 42 players, or 38% of the 2002 salary cap. They'll go that way. All the NFL teams protected, all but 5 players in their roster, punters and kickers, not a part of this expansion draft. Only one player that's been around the league 10 years or more can be on the list, thus selected here today. After a pick, your favorite NFL team at home, at the time the Texans, can pull back one player off their unprotected list, and after a second player is selected, they can pull back the remainder of their list. However, this is significant in this draft. Many teams who are handicapped by the salary cap are going to keep their players out there, and that's why we're going to see teams like Baltimore, Jacksonville, and the Jets lose multiple players, in all likelihood, in this expansion draft this afternoon. This is not your toddler's expansion draft back to the Browns 3 years ago. There are a lot of good players. 155 on the list, 25 of them have been to the Pro Bowl. As you watch, on this side, you're going to see a list of your favorite team in the NFL, the players they left unprotected. On the bottom of the screen, you'll see who the Texans select, how much money they spend, and where they are in reaching those minimums that we discussed in the expansion draft rules. Given all that, you've gone over the list, culled it, looked at it, assessed it. Who's the best available talent out there?
Well, you have to headline that list with a guy, you start from the inside out. You want to be dominant up front, both on the offense and defensive lines. So when you look at this list, you'll see a guy like Tony Bazzelli headlining the way. Number 1, Charlie Batch. Ron Jaworski made me pick this guy because he believes Charlie Batch can be a player in this league. I think a steal would be a Charlie Rogers, who is a return man on this list. And when you see the second page, you're going to see a top-notch corner in Aaron Glenn, a top-notch defensive tackle in Gary Walker. You're going to see a swing guy and Matthew Campbell that can play all 3 interior line positions. So I think when you look at my list and compare to who the Houston guys take, I think you're going to see a team that can be well put together, built from the front back.
And I agree with you. I do like Charlie Batch, but I don't think he fits the profile of what they want here in Houston. This team will build with a young quarterback. It'll either be David Carr or Joey Harrington, guys that will be their quarterback for a long time. Then there are some players that can fill a need. And you look at these guys, some of them are overpriced, some of them are too old. They do not fit the profile once again. But I believe Danny Werfel does. He's an inexpensive quarterback with some experience. And what you're going to need after this draft, as you begin to practice, go through mini camps, go through the off-season workouts, is a quarterback with experience that could get your team in and out of the huddle, lined up properly, and allow all the other players to integrate within the offensive system.
This all the input for the selections to be made by these gentlemen. Charlie Casserly, he's the general manager, direct football operations, part of the Redskin title days, has been on the job for 13 months, just like Dom Capers, the head coach of the Houston Texans, who got the expansion experience going in Carolina. 2 years as the Jacksonville defensive coordinator. Now he takes over, and fans are ready for the Texans to select. We'll meet the first take-in the expansion draft in 2002 when we come back to Houston after this. With you in Houston, we talked about the head coach and the general manager. It all starts with the owner, Bob McNair. He's with Chris Mortensen. Mort?
Well, Mike, Bob McNair here, I assure you, not George Bush, the President of the United States, is the most popular man in Houston today. And Bob, this is obviously an emotional moment for you. Can you describe what you're feeling right now?
Well, I've been working on this project for 5 years, and to see it come to reality is an exciting moment for us, our family, our partners, our whole organization. We're delighted to have you in Houston, and we're looking forward to this.
I just got an idea here, a hint that maybe the guy you're about to introduce here is a little bigger than both of us.
Well, he would probably take up the front row, I think, but he's an outstanding guy, and I'm looking forward to having him in Houston.
All right, Mike, back to you.
There is no suspense. A lot of players have been brought to Houston by the Texans for this day. But even though we know where they're going, getting there is still enjoyable.
Yes, it is. It is outstanding.
The first players that we select are going to be the nucleus of our team. They're going to be the veteran group. They're going to provide the leadership that is so necessary for our team in these early years. The person that we're selecting as our #1 pick is an All-Pro on the field. He's an All-Pro off the field. He's a 5-time Pro Bowler. He's an offensive tackle, Tony Boselli.
Tony Boselli was Jacksonville's first pick in the college draft. Now he's the Texans' first pick in the expansion draft.
And you see his number, Mike, at 6'8", He is one of the highest paid offensive linemen in this draft, and deservedly so. What he brings is he's a great player with his hands. He's a space eater. He is dominant. He is the guy that finishes plays like no other. You see right here, he's a guy that's going to wipe the defensive tackle all the way down. John, I think this is an outstanding pick for a franchise going somewhere very soon.
Mike, I am with Tony Boselli. Tony, can you just describe the emotions that you're going through right now?
Well, I'm extremely excited to be here in Houston and to be part of this franchise. I think it's going to be very successful. There's a great organization, great ownership, great coaching staff, and obviously great fans, and I'm excited. It's a great sports city. It's going to be a great place to play football.
It's not all. One of the greatest Houston Oilers of all, Ray Childress, perennial Pro Bowl defensive lineman, 11 years with the Houston Oilers. Last year was 1996, the last time that the Oilers played here. And Ray, I have to say, they keep sending these big, good-looking guys next to me. You look like you're ready to play. Can you describe just what this means to the city of Houston?
Well, I think everybody's fired up. I think everyone's excited. You know, I think everyone's confident that Bob's going to be a great owner. We have a great organization. I think we're fortunate to have Charlie Cashley and Dom Capers, and I'm ready to get started.
Well, we're going to give you a chance to go up there and make a selection for the Houston Texans. Mike?
Chris, Ray Childress, also part of the ownership group in a small portion. Great to have a Houston football name as part of the team. Selection 2 for the Texans.
With the second selection of the NFL expansion draft, the Houston Texans select Ryan Young.
Ryan Young, offensive tackle from the New York Jets. One of the 8 players brought to Houston by the Texans. This is the best guy out there when you factor in ability, salary cap number, which is very low, and youth. And here you have 2 tackles on each side where you know, barring injury, first weekend of September, kickoff 2002, they will start a tackle for the Houston Texans.
If Tony Boselli is identity, then now you have credibility with Ryan Young. And when you say credibility, this guy was probably the most shocked of being on the expansion draft. So now playing with Tony Boselli, he gets a new...
With the 3rd pick, the Texans have selected from the New York Jets defensive back, Aaron Glenn.
Glenn, a very popular pick, not just for his ability on the field in his 8 NFL seasons, but he's a native of Humble, Texas, Houston suburb. Went to Nimitz High School, so it's welcome home to the starting cornerback in all likelihood in the defensive secondary of the Texans.
Selected from Jacksonville, defensive tackle Gary Walker.
Gary Walker becomes the first ever player who was in the Pro Bowl in February to be taken later that month in an expansion draft. This is a Pro Bowl player at age 28, a $5.25 million cap hit, but he'll also hit some offensive linemen and running backs and anything else in his way.
Oh, yes, he will, Mike. And remember, they are in the exact same conference now with the Houston Texans, so the Texans might be guaranteed to win 2 games. When you talk about Gary Walker,
Clay Walker with the announcement of the selection.
Selection number 5, Mambo number 5. The Houston Texans select Jamie Sharper.
Jamie Sharper of the Super Bowl champions from 2 years ago, Baltimore Ravens. A linebacker entering year 6 in the NFL, and the Ravens have also not pulled anyone back, but Bob McNair, the owner, welcomes back-to-back good defensive players. Jamie Sharper, his brother Darren's in Green Bay, now moves from Baltimore to Houston.
Number 6, the Texans have selected from Baltimore wide receiver Jermaine Lewis.
So you have a second Baltimore Raven along with the 2 Jacksonville Jaguars and 2 New York Jets selected thus far. Yes, he is a wide receiver, but he's also a 2-time Pro Bowler in the kick return position. Was in Honolulu for the Pro Bowl earlier this month. And Sterling, this is the guy that you love in this expansion draft.
This is my guy, Mike, because of the fact that the offenses, I think, is going to struggle, going to take some time to gel. What J. Lou brings is the ability, of course, you know about the return.
With pick number 7, the Texans have selected from the New York Jets defensive back Marcus Coleman.
Well, that's a young, perhaps youngest Texans fan here. We'll get to know the New York Jets of 2001 very well. This is the 3rd Jet, both starting cornerbacks taken from Herm Edwards' team, Ron.
Well, when you look at Herman Edwards, he likes guys that play a physical style of play, so I think he's going to miss Marcus Coleman.
Some of the Houston celebrities very much involved in this community, chipping in on Expansion Draft 2002.
The Little Old Band from Texas would like to welcome to the Little Old football team from Texas.
The number 8 selection, Seth Payne. Dom Capers head coach, Charlie Casserly GM, taking a 3rd Jacksonville Jaguar to go with the 3 Jets. And Seth looks pretty fired up to meet the guys from ZZ Top. Ron, a young defensive lineman, in relative terms, age 26. All these players drafted today are under the age of 30.
Yeah, Mike, and one thing you notice about Seth Payne, he's a run stopper. And you just look historically at what's happened the last couple of years in this league.
To scream, to cheer, to hope, maybe pray for their favorite teams. It's the NFL's new season, the NFL Draft. These elite players are headed to the National Football League. They'll know their fates within hours.
You got to come out.
261 men are about to embark on an incredible journey. These gifted athletes come in all shapes and sizes. From franchise quarterbacks to nifty linemen, cornerstone defensive backs to relentless pass rushers. On this special day, they pursue the ultimate goal, football. On Sunday, the 2002 NFL Draft.
Well, thanks to our 3 draft picks, as Mel knows, it doesn't get any better than this. Welcome to the 67th Annual National Football League Annual Selection Meeting. We decided to invite a few friends of ours to watch. Also, in the green room, a few friends you'll know pretty soon, like big hulking tackles like Bryant Mountain McKinney from Miami, the fun-loving man from Texas, Big Mike Williams, his one-time Longhorn teammate, the coveted Quentin Whammer Jammer. What a great football name. From North Carolina, the versatile defensive end, Julius Sergeant Peppers and his Lowly Hearts Club Band. And the future Houston Texan, quarterback David, you can drive my car. And a quarterback we'll talk about very soon, and whither he goes, Joey Harrington, quarterback Oregon. Does he go early? Do teams trade? Do teams jump? Hey, that's what we're here for. Hello once again, everybody. I'm Chris Berman, and let's translate the annual selection meeting in English means the NFL Draft. With me, as always, is becoming a habit, Mel Kiper.
Good to be here, Chris.
You doing nothing?
That's relaxing. A little golf.
Chris Mortensen, this is also becoming a habit.
Yes, it is.
Here we are in the bowels of Madison Square Garden. What is Jimmy Johnson? What in the name of the Florida Keys is Jimmy Johnson doing here? Welcome.
I had to find a tie and some socks.
This is your day. This is wheeling, dealing. You're right in the middle of these things. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to add. Jimmy's going to add to the merriment. We've got reporters everywhere. And here's what you'll see on the screen. As the day goes and you see David Carr, here's what you'll see on the screen during the day. At the bottom of your TV screen will be a red crawl that'll display the draft order, reveal the current pick. Side will be a totem-like poll menu. You follow your favorite team information. Totem poll device will also have Mel's best available, all sorts of information, including new divisional realignment, which we'll talk about. Finally, on the lower right, you can see which team is on the clock, and the clock, which in the first round you have 15 minutes to make the pick. But we should say that the Houston Texans did not wait 15 minutes to make the pick. They couldn't wait to go this quickly, and why not? They have signed, or they've come to agreement and drafted for all intents and purposes, David Carr, quarterback, Fresno State. Now, Carr comes with an $11 million signing bonus, 7-year contract worth at least $45 million, could be up to $60 million. What's a few million when you're among friends? But the Houston Texans have hitched their wagon, no pun intended, to David Carr, your franchise quarterback, first pick in the history of the team. It's the 4th time that's ever happened. Do they have their right man in all way, shape, and form, Mel, in your opinion?
Chris, I think they do. He has, and I think you look at that number 8, you look at Troy Aikman, what he meant to Jimmy Johnson and the Dallas Cowboys, that foundation, that building block that you go and you build around and you get the supporting cast, and all of a sudden, the rest is history. You're moving into a position to get to a Super Bowl. You see the size. He's been up around 230 pounds, runs under 4'7", bench presses over 400 pounds. So you know about the physical ability. And keep in mind, here he is with the Bulldogs. He was brought along slowly. 2 years as a backup, then redshirted, gave him a time to grasp that sophisticated offense of Pat Hill. Then he became the starter, threw 4 interceptions his first start at Columbus against Ohio State, rebounded to have a great year, and then this past season, early in the year, 3 top-level opponents, Colorado, Oregon State, and Wisconsin. David Carr put on a show. Then at the Senior Bowl practice in Mobile, he lit it up. Accuracy, velocity was Troy Aikman-like. Now, I think that week in Mobile, Joey Harrington was not there, nursing that knee injury, allowed David Carr to seize control at that position. Houston Texans had no choice from that point on to make Carr the number 1 pick, feeling that he can be a potential franchise signal caller. You look at the strengths of David Carr. I alluded to some of these while the highlights were rolling. Look at arm strength. He can whip the ball to any point on the field. The maturity level and the leadership is critical. We talk about Ryan Leaf. We go back to the enthusiasm that I thought Rick Meyer lacked. He has it. Consistency throughout the year. I thought he was the best at the college level of anybody. The sidearm delivery is the concern. Unlike Troy Aikman, who snapped it off from the ear, he comes off that right shoulder sidearm. And while he runs under 4'7", he's not going to scramble around and make a lot of plays with his legs. But I think more that sidearm delivery, whether we'll have passes batted down at the line of scrimmage, unlike at Fresno State when he did.
Commissioner Paul Tagliabue to kick it off.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon to football fans here and around the nation. Welcome to the 2002 National Football League College Player Draft. The first choice in this draft belongs to the NFL's newest addition, the Houston Texans.
and you've waited a couple of years since even being awarded the expansion franchise, you might as well wait 7 or 8 minutes and be on the
Chris,
clock.
all you have to do is put these two guys in a room together, and there's an immediate debate. But you know what? No matter how much you talk about skills of quarterbacks, sometimes you just have to go with feel, because it's not an exact science. And the guys in Houston fell in love with David Carr, the person. But you've been quite clear saying that you think Joey Harrington is a fantastic quarterback. So compare the two.
Yeah, and I love David Carr, and I love Joey Harrington. And Mort got me fired up already talking about the 3 coaches he talked to said that you don't change a quarterback's throwing rhythm. Well, he's wrong. You know, you've got to tweak things when they get to the NFL. But in a comparison to David Carr and Joey Harrington, arm strength, clearly David Carr. He's got a gun on his shoulder. He can throw the football. Accuracy, no question. Joey Harrington can make all the difficult throws, a more accurate passer. Mechanics, Joey Harrington, flawless. The guy sets up in the pocket, great pocket awareness. Both these guys will look down the gun barrel. They're tough. They will take the hit and deliver the football, and that's that pocket presence. They both have great awareness in the pocket. And although David Carr may deliver the ball a little bit low in his delivery, what he can do is move around a little bit to find that.
There's no debate about the first pick of the draft, the 67th one. The podium.
With the first choice in the 2002 NFL Draft, the Houston Texans select David Carr, quarterback from Fresno State.
Now, how can you boo that here? It's not like this is a surprise. Hey, look, 6'3", as Mel talked about, 46 touchdowns, 9 interceptions last year. I don't care what level you're playing at. I mean, that's 70 TD passes, 23 picks for your career. So with the winning, I'm not even talking about yards, what kind of offense, over 300, 10 of the last 11 games. That's a pretty good ratio no matter what league you play in. And about the human being, David Carr, there can be no debate. What a person to build a franchise around, guys.
I think that's the key, Chris. When you look at a quarterback like Joey Harrington, we talk about leadership, and we go back, and I'll tell you, if I didn't think Joey Harrington and David Carr played, I'd tell you, I think they would be overrated. I'd push them down to 30th, 50th, and Jeff George 84th, higher 30th. I don't see anything with Harrington or Carr that you can't say is a question mark in terms of them becoming a quality starting quarterback. Sure, you can say Carr, the sidearm delivery. You can say Harrington doesn't have the gun. There are a lot of quarterbacks that don't have tremendous arm strength and win Super Bowls. So to me, if I thought they were overrated, I'd tell you. I don't see that happening with these two. I think they're going to both be solid or much better than that at the pro level. And I think when you look at Carr and Harrington 3-4 years down the road, you are not going to call any one of these two players a bust or a disappointment.
I want to go back to that sidearm delivery stuff that Jaws is taking some shots here now. You know, Mike Martz has a master's in biomechanics, and he pointed out, and this is consistent with a lot of people I've talked to, this sidearm delivery, listen, you don't see baseball pitchers come over the top. Biomechanically, it's okay to be. Kurt Warner's down there. Steve Young was down there. You can change footwork, you can change the leverage, your knee flexion. You don't mess with that delivery if he's had success.
Sonny Jurgensen was below there, right? I don't know how he got that out, and he was pretty good the last time we checked.
Bernie Kosar.
Well, there have been many. So David Carr with a wife, Melody, a young son, and how about them Texans? They've got their quarterback. I had to do it.
The rank and file began filing in today. Monday, the two-a-days signal the start of the first ever training camp. It's what we've all waited for since the dark day that Bud Adams announced a deal with Nashville. Here's Matt Samsel.
Asked how it felt arriving at his first NFL training camp, quarterback David Carr said, "It felt hot." The temperature will get even higher when the Texans hit the field Monday. It'll be a crash course for the youngest team in the NFL. The first team in the league to open up camp has a short time to get ready for contact against the Dallas Cowboys in their August 2nd scrimmage. And then the Hall of Fame game against the Giants 3 days after that.
These first 2 weeks of training camp are the most concentrated effort that you have. You aren't preparing, so to speak, for a game that week. We'll be doing all of our installations. We'll be doing a lot of evaluation.
I'm not going to say training camp's easy or it's a lot of fun, but in college you have 30 days before you play a game. I mean, you scrimmage against your guys 3 or 4 times. But we're going to get right into it. We're going to start scrimmaging the Cowboys, and then the next game, it's going to be here as soon as we know it.
Carr is ready to face the pressure, face the Houston Heat and the media over and over and over again throughout the rest of his career. That's what happens when you're a quarterback in the National Football League. And as usual, the even-keeled, cool as a cucumber Carr doesn't flinch.
it's something that comes with the territory, I guess. At Fresno, it was the same way. We started winning some football games at no level that it is here, but you just take it as it is and go about it, because, you know, I mean, it's fun playing football, and this is the stuff that comes with it.
Just try to avoid any of those landmines that may come about, but there'll be something that'll be new this year that you guys will come up with, but everything, so far, David has handled everything pretty well.
Camp is a time when players build a bond and the team comes together on and off the field. No other position is more dependent on the bond of 5 good men than the offensive line.
It's 5 guys working as one, really. So, I mean, that's why, you know, a lot of times offensive linemen don't get individual credit, because, you know, we all work so well as a unit together. So I think it's very important for us to get in there, bond, gel as quickly as possible, because, I mean, we got a lot of money to protect in that backfield.
And this should be more intense with pads and two-a-days.
You can't really let the intensity and the pressure kind of, you know, get to you. You know, you gotta stay poised. You know, you gotta go out there and know that we all had the same common goal, and that's to become a team and get ready for the season. But this is gonna be fun. You know, I've been in 3 training camps, but this one's gonna be special because of all the new excitement around it.
Matt Samsel, Fox 26 Sports Extra Saturday.
On the rise today as the Texans kick off their training camp.
And the first Texans are getting ready for their inaugural season, and they are also getting plenty of attention.
Live with Sports Director Bob Allen is at Reliant Park with more on today's big kickoff. Bobby?
That's right, Tom. Cheryl, a little bit of Houston history made today. Houston Texans with their first ever training camp practice. That happened about 8:45 this morning. Tonight at 7:15, they hit the field here under the lights for the first full pad workout. Joining me now, my colleague Tim Melton. And what were your impressions today, Tim?
Fever is the right word. It was hot, but we're in Texas, aren't we? We've covered an awful lot of training camps, all being the Oilers. Right. And the thing that jumped out at me today about the first Texans training camp is, number one, it's here in Houston, and secondly, there were more media members than football players. 97 names on the roster, 90 bodies in uniform this morning, and the head coach says he recognizes all of them.
Yes, I can, because we've had a large number of meetings.
The first day of training camp and the first day wearing pads.
I think the first 3-4 days of pads and hitting people, you look forward to that. Then you look forward to that first preseason game.
The wide receivers right. Tim Tebow turns the corner. He's going in. And the Broncos are an extra point away from taking the lead.
Or just depend on the deep guys to knock it away.
Garrard steps up, fires, Mike Sims, Walker, knocked down.
Oh, he caught it! Oh! Unbelievable! Mike Thomas, touchdown Jags! Ball game! 50 yards!
7 seconds to play. Schaub takes the snap, 5 seconds left. Schaub, pump fake, Schaub throws, intercepted, it's over! Michael Huff, after the passing of Al Davis yesterday, just win baby, lives for the Raiders.
First and goal at the 6. Jets need a touchdown. Sanchez, corner of the end zone. Punt!
Big pressure. Josh is intercepted. Game-winning touchdown, Baltimore. Josh Wilson. The rare walk-off game-winning interception for touchdown. Thrown by
Greason goes in motion. Foster gets the carry. Big hole, and Foster is gone. Touchdown, Houston. This is a rout in Miami.
Good movement up here on the offensive line. Does a nice job. Look how patient he is. You see the backside cut right there. The linebacker's not in position. No safeties to be found. Just a good zone run scheme by the Texans.
First career NFL touchdown for Arian Foster, the rookie out of Tennessee.
all you can say at this point is from undrafted to unbelievable.
For most of the 2009 season,
Houston's number 37 was a 0 on the stat sheet.
Let's go, baby. Hey.
Signed as an undrafted free agent that year, Arian Foster spent his first 10 weeks on the Texans practice squad. His initial taste of NFL action came at the tail end of his rookie season.
Arian Foster, this is a guy who worked himself off the practice squad, has been earning opportunities on special teams. They wanted to see him get going in the run game, and they really like his talent.
We started our last 2 games. He had 100 yards in both games.
17-yard touchdown run for the rookie from Tennessee, Arian Foster, his first career TD.
At the end of the season, when you had your end-of-the-year meeting, they asked him what you think about this guy. I said he can be good.
I think he's becoming a more complete back right before our eyes. He's certainly got the size that you like. Seems to have the explosion that you look for at that position as well.
And then, you know, in the preseason and doing practice and stuff, and when he was doing the same thing in training camp and making a miss, I said, we might be on to something here. Then that coach game, he exploded with 232 yards. I said, he's the real deal.
Foster again, left side, wide out across the 20, the 15, the 10, going for the 5, going for the pylon. Touchdown, Arian Foster! His 3rd touchdown of the day. Arian Foster, a day to remember.
Foster's entire 2010 season was unforgettable. Along with his rushing crown, Foster led the league in touchdowns and yards from scrimmage. His 1,616 yards on the ground was the most ever by an undrafted player. In 2010, Foster was everywhere doing everything, with one glaring exception.
You know, we haven't seen Arian Foster, and you just wonder if he's hurt, because it's mostly been Slayton and Ward for the Texans.
He missed the meeting, so coach decided he was not going to play him at all. Aaron pissed off, you know, this is the guy that's leading the league in rushing. You're telling him that he's not going to play, so he's pissed off. I told him just calm down. First play, you get in.
All right, Arian Foster starts the second half.
Zone scheme to the right side. I kicked out the safety. Boom.
Foster down the sideline. Foster still running. Coach will be in the game. Touchdown.
Ran 73 yards. First play, 73 yards. First time to touch the ball. So that's the play that sticks out to me the most.
45, 50, down the right sideline, 40, breaks a tackle, the 30, the 20, the 10, the 5, touchdown, Arian Foster.
You always want to get better. Nobody ever stay the same. You either get better or you get worse. So I hope we can see Foster get better.
The best stories in sports. This is an E60 feature presentation.
Throughout my whole childhood, high school days, college days, and even now as a professional, everybody has always told me what I can and can't do. Always. I've always taken it personal. No, impossible, can't, won't. I call those wood words. Throw them on my fire. I'm Arian Foster, running back, Houston Texans, and this is my story. Finally, after a lifetime of doubters, critics, I proved them all wrong. 2010 was my year. 18 total touchdowns, 1,616 rushing yards. I led the National Football League in rushing.
He's a slasher. He does have the power to run someone over, but he makes that one cut, and it's fun to watch because you see those guys grabbing at air when they're trying to tackle him.
You might think twice about tackling him. I tackled him a couple times, but it was rough. It was like running into an 18-wheeler.
My success on the field didn't come overnight. It was filled with dreams, touchdowns, fumbles, highs, lows, California, Tennessee, and an NFL draft that never was. But it started in New Mexico. Albuquerque, New Mexico. This is where I was born, August 24th, 1986. I'm the youngest of 3 children and grew up in a multicultural household. My father is African American and my mother is Mexican American.
Their dad and I tried to give them a really strong feeling about who they were, identifying with both cultures as much as possible.
We were never really black enough. We were never really, Hispanic enough.
I remember one time, a guy told me, he said, "You know what a mayate is?" And I was like, "Nah, what is that?" And he said, "Go home and ask your mom what it is." And she told me what it meant, and it's a Mexican word for calling a black person a nigger. And so the next day, I walk up to him and I punch him.
His mother and I both took the same approach. Be yourself. Don't let anybody change you. Don't let anybody attempt to make you feel bad for who you are.
My father, Arian Foster, played wide receiver for the University of New Mexico in the late 1970s and had a tryout with the Denver Broncos. By the age of 7, I started playing youth football, fell in love with the game. In the 7th grade, one of my teachers asked us what we wanted to be when we grew up. Kids were giving answers like doctor, like lawyer, veterinarian. I said, I want to play in the NFL. I remember the teacher said, well, what else do you want to do? And I was like, why are you asking me what else I want to do? Why didn't you ask the doctor or the lawyer what else they wanted to do? And she's like, well, that's just not a very realistic goal. I said, why not? My teacher doubted me. And I don't even remember her name. It was the beginning of me proving people wrong. In this off season, I shared my experience with some students entering high school. How's everybody doing today? When you're talking with kids, I think you should encourage dreams, not demean them. There's always going to be somebody that says you can't do something. And usually that somebody didn't do what they wanted to do with their life. I tell kids all the time, man, don't listen to adults.
I saw several teachers' jaws drop when Arian made the comment about don't listen to adults. He's referring back to the people that told him he couldn't do it. And he's telling these kids you can.
In 2000, I was a freshman at Valley High School in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I was determined to make varsity as a running back.
His freshman and sophomore years in Albuquerque, they made it very clear that they didn't think he was running back material.
The coaches thought I was too small, too slow. But after several running backs on the varsity squad got hurt, I got my opportunity, and I didn't disappoint. I broke a school record for rushing. I was really excited, and I remember the coach coming up, and he's saying, we still don't feel like you're running back material. While I was in high school, my mother and father divorced. My dad moved to San Diego, and I went with him.
Boys get to a certain age where they need to be with their dad, and so that's kind of what we both had agreed.
Arian came here his junior year of high school. We knew nothing about him, and to be honest with you, we were such great coaches, we started him at outside linebacker when he first came. Once you saw him as a running back, you saw how special he was, so it didn't take long for us to put him in there.
My senior season in San Diego, I rushed for 2,093 yards and had a total of 30 touchdowns. Colleges took notice. I felt like I was an elite running back. I want to go prove myself in the Southeastern Conference. I chose the University of Tennessee. In 2005, I rushed for almost 900 yards and scored 5 touchdowns as a freshman. But my sophomore year was another story. It was running back by committee, and I rushed for less than 300 yards. And then came the Outback Bowl against Penn State. I had a costly fumble in the third quarter that they took back for a touchdown.
Back to the ground with Foster. Ball's loose. Penn State has it. Are you kidding?
There are writers and there are people today that still talk about me and talk about my fumble and my fumbles. It's amazing because how could you have that much animosity towards an 18-year-old kid?
I think Arian had some unfair heat. I know this. I never questioned his ability to carry a football team and our running game on his back.
I took a lot of heat and criticism. My attitude, I'm going to bounce back my junior year.
Touchdown, Arian Foster.
And I did. In 2007, I rushed for almost 1,200 yards and scored 14 touchdowns.
At the end of his third year at Tennessee, he probably would have been maybe the 50th player picked in the draft. And then he goes back for his last year at Tennessee.
I met my girlfriend after my junior year. I had a little daughter. So if I would have came out my junior year, that means I wouldn't have the most important thing in my life right now, which is my daughter and my girlfriend. My senior year was one of the worst years in the University of Tennessee's storied history. Again, my carries dropped. I fell out of favor with coaches. I felt I was misunderstood. I rushed for only 570 yards and scored 1 touchdown.
When the injuries happened to other people on the team, but particularly to Arian, he wasn't able to participate, and we didn't have nearly the performances that we expected to have.
I had a real bitter taste in my mouth leaving the University of Tennessee. My attitude was just, like, I didn't care. In 2009, following my senior season, I entered my name into the NFL draft. I wasn't expecting to go the first 2 days. You know, I know the process. And finally, the 7th round comes, and somebody at the Seattle Seahawks called me, and they said, how do you feel about being picked? And I was so upset at the time, and this is really bad. I was so upset at the time that my attitude was like, yeah, man, you know, that'd be okay, yeah. And I wouldn't have picked me either, honestly. When the draft ended, it felt like my NFL dreams did too.
When he's coming out as a senior, there are not a lot of people saying a lot of good things about him, but we saw a guy who would be a really good fit in our offensive scheme because he has one-cut ability, he has lateral quickness, he has speed.
The Houston Texans invited me to their training camp. So they put me on practice squad, and that kind of sparked me. Then, in the last 4 games of that season, I got my chance to be an NFL running back. I just remember thinking, take that, you know, take that. Because everything that I had been through up to that point was just, man, it was an emotional roller coaster. I was so motivated. That off season, I trained day and night with my brother, Abdul.
He just wasn't in the best shape, so, you know, I kind of looked at it and said, all right, you know, we're going to make sure Arian's in great condition, better than anybody out there.
Let's face it, Foster in his first year in the NFL on the practice squad and then at the end of the year was never totally healthy. If he could get fully healthy and he could put on a coat of armor working out in the offseason, he was going to have a chance to be a great NFL running back.
Week 1, 2010, facing the Indianapolis Colts. I had the best game of my life. I bow in the end zone to greet the football world and the football gods and the football fans. I respect this game and I love this game. I finished the day with 231 yards, 3 touchdowns, and most importantly, a Texans win. It was emotional, man. It showed myself that hard work pays off. I finished the season with 1,616 rushing yards, the highest total for any undrafted man that has ever played in this league. Finally, putting some of my doubters to rest, I made my first Pro Bowl and proposed to the love of my life. A little nervous, you know, you got a little nerves, you know. About 90% sure she's gonna say yes.
Wow.
Will you allow me to walk the rest of this life with you?
I can't even remember everything he said. I just looked at him and that's why he wanted to.
That's wonderful, so I went through all that for nothing. I've been truly blessed. I have a wonderful wife and a beautiful daughter.
Hello, people.
Hello, people.
This season, doubts have resurfaced. There's been an injury and controversy surrounding it.
After leaving this past Saturday's preseason game with an injury to his left hamstring, the Houston Texans star actually tweeted, "This is an MRI of my hamstring. The white stuff surrounding the muscle is known in the medical world as anti-awesome."
I think I have kind of a crooked sense of humor. So I was just trying to make light of a bad situation. There's a time and place for everything, and looking back at it, I was probably wrong. In 2011, it's time to prove to everyone that I belong in this league, and prove this is just the beginning.
What was the lowest time you ever had in your life, and how'd you pull yourself out?
You know, growing up, like I said, we were going through a lot of, hardships as a family. But I think the one that kind of broke the The straw that broke the camel's back was when I saw my mother. She pawned her wedding ring to give us. Excuse me. We just had this conversation, Coop. I don't cry, man. She pawned her wedding ring to give us some food that night, and I just told myself that that I wanted to do something with my life. That excuse me, I'm sorry. No, I'm all right, man. I just want to do something with my life that to make sure that, you know, when I had a kid, that she never had to worry about the lights being on. She didn't have to worry about any of that. And I didn't care if I had to work 3 jobs or whatever, you know. And that's why I don't complain too much, man, because, you know, at the end of the day, we're all people, man, and we just want to smile. And, you know, even when we were growing up and it was tough, that's one thing my family always had was, you know, we smiled through it all. And that's why I try to remain as optimistic as possible.
Is your family smiling now?
I hope so.
All right, everyone, let's get it going. Michael, what do you got?
I mean, Andre Johnson, you don't know much about him because he doesn't talk a whole lot. And this is a guy who never knew his father, and one of his closest friends was killed. His teammate had a son before he died, and now Andre is the godfather to that young man. And he's trying to give his godson what he didn't have and what was taken from him.
10-year-old Cyril Jones Jr. is just learning the defensive tackle position.
Good tackle, Cyril! We're coming off the ball so slow.
He's getting tips from a pretty knowledgeable source. Texans wide receiver Andre Johnson, who's also Cyril Jr.'s godfather.
What kind of tips does he give you? Does he tell you about being a good player? What does he tell you?
He told me to shoot through my gaps faster so I could sack the quarterback.
It works?
Uh-huh.
Good.
Johnson is in his hometown of Miami watching Cyril Jr. for the first time this season because on most Friday nights, he's preparing to put on a show on Sunday.
13-yard touchdown pass to the best wide receiver in the NFL, Andre Johnson.
A 4-time Pro Bowler, the 6'3", 225-pound Johnson posted consecutive seasons of 100 catches and 1,500 yards in 2008 and 2009.
Where do you feel you rank among players in the league?
To me, I feel like I'm the best.
And that's the most trash talking I'm going to get from you.
I said I wouldn't feel that way until I was able to put the numbers up, you know, to prove it. So right now, yeah, I feel like I'm the best at what I do.
The 29-year-old Johnson grew up minutes from where the Dolphins play their home games. He was raised by his mother, Karen, and met his father only once.
He was about in the 3rd grade. Came in from school and he says, "Mom, I saw my dad today, you know." I was like, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." So I said, "Well, what do you guys talk about?" He said, "Well, he acted like he didn't know me, so I act like I didn't know him." And that was the end of that relationship.
It just left a bad taste in my mouth, so I was just kind of like, well, if he don't want to deal with me, I don't, you know, have to deal with him.
Karen Johnson worked full-time at the post office while raising 2 sons. She taught Andre to be tough at a young age.
I do remember one time we were playing flag football, and I had left my cleats at home, and I'm sliding all across the field, and I was just kind of out of the game. I was crying, and she just came out on the field at halftime and like jacked me up in front of everybody.
Did you get the message?
I looked like a new player in the second half of the football game, so I definitely got the message.
Andre went on to start Miami Senior High School, where he also met fellow wide receiver Cyril Jones, who quickly became his closest friend.
He was a funny dude. I don't know what it was. Me and him just kind of bonded.
Andre was one of the most highly touted prospects in the nation and chose to attend the University of Miami. Cyril, meanwhile, earned a 4-year football scholarship to Carson Newman College in Tennessee, but he was homesick and soon returned to Miami.
What was he doing when he came home?
He was just kind of caught up into the street life.
Cyril had several run-ins with the law, but kept that part of his life from Andre. On Andre's 19th birthday, July 11th, 2000, Cyril had a son, Cyril Jr. Father and son were regulars at Andre's games that fall.
You see a lot of, young guys that, don't get involved in their son's life. He was very involved in his son's life.
As a sophomore, Andre led Miami with 5 touchdowns, and the Hurricanes were the nation's top-ranked team.
Deep down the sideline, Andre Johnson, touchdown Miami!
On November 1st, 2001, Andre and Cyril spoke on the phone, as they did each week leading up to game day.
We were on the phone for probably about 2.5, 3 hours. We talked about everything we did together in high school, and he was like, I'm gonna call you back when you get out of practice. I get a phone call, answer the phone, I'm like, what's up, man? And it was silent. And then you can hear his mom, so I'm like, hello? And she was like, Dre, he's dead.
According to police reports, an argument had turned deadly, and Cyril was murdered, shot dead at 20. Cyril Jr. was just 1.5 years old.
A couple of weeks later, Cyril Jr.'s mother called.
All right.
Tell me about that phone call.
And she asked me, would I be his godfather?
He's a very good person. He's very responsible. Cyril knew him as a father figure.
I told her, yeah, I would do it. I wouldn't want little Cyril to grow up the same way I grew up without my father.
8 months after Cyril was murdered, Andre learned that his own father had been shot and killed.
I never cried about nobody dying until my father had passed. I guess it was just me releasing, all the stuff that had built up.
Today, Andre Johnson is trying to be the father he never had. He and his girlfriend have a 1-year-old daughter named Kylie, and Andre continues to be the only father Cyril Jr. has known. Andre occasionally flies Cyril Jr. to Texans home games, but during the season, they mostly talk on the phone. When he's home in Miami, he's able to spend more time with Cyril and help keep his godson in line.
What happened on that one?
Cyril got in trouble in school, and so I told his mom, I was like, let's just drive up to the school.
Everybody's being quiet. Cyril's the only one jumping up, running around the class.
I walked in the door. His eyes looked like, his eyes got big.
What'd you think when he walked into school?
I was in trouble.
We took him home, and I probably sat there for about 3 hours, just telling him about, what he needs to do, what he shouldn't do.
In October, during the Texans' bye week, Andre made it back to Miami to prep Cyril Jr. in his last game before the playoffs.
You making tackles, but you coming off the ball soft, though.
You gonna play in the NFL one day?
Yep.
You gonna be a defensive lineman?
Wide receiver.
Wide receiver? Why you gonna play wide receiver? Because somebody plays wide receiver?
Mm-hmm.
Andre always did everything, a father figure does for Cyril. As far as, mentally, financially, however, he was there for Cyril. If it wasn't for Andre, I don't know where Cyril would be right now.
There you go.
You just try to make sure you're there, checking on him. Right now, I really don't think he still understands it. But I think once he gets older, he will.
Fourth and 10 at the Redskins' 34-yard line. Matt gets the snap. There's pressure. Matt steps to his right. Matt trying to step up. Matt heaves it toward the end zone. Wants Andre Johnson. He makes the catch for a Texans touchdown. Andre Johnson plucks it out of the air, and the Texans will tie this game. Matt Schaub just said, go ahead and get it. You're the best wide receiver in the league. Nobody was going to get that ball away from number 80.
Andre Johnson's probably the epitome of an athlete that I've ever been on the field with. He's big, he's strong, he's fast, he's a playmaker, he can throw. I've seen him throw, I've seen everything. I just like pure athletes, and Andre Johnson is a pure athlete. He's a man amongst the boys.
He's better than Rice. Rice is better than I'm not going to disrespect Rice. No, I'm just saying. 80's just a beast with it, though.
It's a physical mismatch to all the corners in the NFL. That's about 6'4", 230 pounds, pure muscle, and kid's a freak.
According to his peers, Houston's Andre Johnson is pro football's finest wide receiver.
All day, 80. All day, son.
Johnson has made many spectacular catches, but few bold statements.
We went down to Miami to interview him, work him out, and when he was coming out of college. And we got in the room, we couldn't get 2 words out of him. Really genuine, hard-working, tough guy that's a quiet guy.
You know, he's like the quiet storm. He don't say much. He just line it up, show up to work every day. One of those blue-collar guys.
When he first came in, he was just a big, powerful guy that had pretty solid hands. I think his hands have improved. I think his route running has improved. But it's that, innate competitor inside him that really makes him special.
Catches everything that touches his hands, and he can run. He can flat out run, go to get the deep ball. So when you have a receiver that can do so many things, pretty deadly. You always got to know where he's going to be. Don't let him get the ball in his hand because he's capable of taking the distance every time you get it.
You'll have coverage. You'll have a DB in position. And then he'll just go up and be stronger than the guy, a little faster than the guy, and make a play.
Leaping ability, size, and elusive moves have made Johnson virtually impossible to stop when the Texans are in scoring range.
By us being in the red zone here, when you run a naked, it changes into a whirl route. And the whirl route is you release it outside, you run the guy in, and then break back out. And that's what I did. We all wish we could be perfect.
Don't we?
You and your quarterback have the timing down. Sometimes you can let them jam you up a little bit. A lot of times I just dance with the DB, push him up to my depth about 5 yards, and I just break in.
Johnson has so many available weapons that it takes an army of defenders to stop him. Sometimes even that's not enough.
We were up by 4. It was like 4th and 18 on their own 20. Like, they had to go 80 yards. It was like a minute left in the game. And we know he's getting the ball. We have him triple teamed.
Schaub takes the snap, steps out to the right, plants, and he throws to the left sideline, and caught by Andre Johnson at the 41-yard line. An amazing grab by Andre Johnson.
If you can't triple team a guy, it's nothing you can do. And if you can't cover that guy with 3 people, leave him alone. You might well not even cover him, period. Might as well try to get lucky and hope he drops it.
When all else fails, some defensive backs try bending the rules.
2 guys that know each other very well, Andre Johnson and Cortland Finnegan, going at it a little bit.
31. When he gets frustrated,
believe me, I watch him every play everywhere.
He's putting his hands in, he's starting to put my hand on my face mask on run plays.
After absorbing an afternoon of abuse, the league's quietest superstar had had enough.
And now Andre Johnson and Finnegan are going at it. And Andre Johnson's ejected.
You're gone. You're gone. You're gone.
Andre Johnson lost his cool with Cortland Finnegan, and Cortland's just trying to get Andre Johnson upset. And the crowd gives Andre Johnson a standing ovation as he heads for the tunnel.
This guy didn't finish the game. He became the first player in NFL history to have 60-plus catches in 8 seasons. Andre Johnson.
No, I'm sorry, man, about the little incident that happened. I should have kept my cool, but for me to achieve this, I couldn't do it without my teammates. So I appreciate each and every one of y'all, and let's keep, doing what we're doing to get this thing headed in the right direction.
His demeanor is such where you're kind of rooting for him. I mean, even though we play him twice a year, he's in our division, it's hard to root for him, but, a guy like that does things the right way, stands for the right things, I have a lot of respect for him. Anytime you're going through the process of evaluating guys, you like to think you know what they're going to become. He's a young man that has lived up to the hype of where he was selected and what he's been asked to do.
Get the pom-poms out, King. With the 15th pick in the 2009 NFL Draft, the Houston Texans select Brian Cushing, linebacker, USC. The Houston Texans select J.J. Watt, defensive end, Wisconsin.
The Houston Texans select Brooks Reed, linebacker, Arizona.
Linebacker for Wade Phillips and his 34 defense. We're getting another high-effort guy.
I'm with newly acquired Texan cornerback Jonathan Joseph. Jonathan, you guys was able to fly around today on a Saturday morning, full pass. How does it feel to be able to be full contact and play for the first time in front of the fans?
It's a great feeling. The fans come out here and you want to give them a show to watch, at the same time put in good work so you can get better at the same time. And today it was a grind just because of the high heat, and guys knew that coming in today's practice that we was full padded, it was going to be hot, tough, but at this level you have to go through and push because at the end of the day that's what makes you a better player.
We gonna take this over or what? 6-2, what's up? What we gonna do?
WorldHipHopBeats.com.
have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its dream. So even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream.
Here's the thing that makes life so interesting. The theory of evolution claims only the strong shall survive. Maybe so. Maybe so. But the theory of competition says just because they're the strong doesn't mean they can't get their asses kicked. That's right. See, what every long shot come from behind underdog will tell you is this. The other guy may in fact be the favorite. The odds may be stacked against you, fair enough. But what the odds don't know is this isn't a math test. This is a completely different kind of test. One where passion has a funny way of trumping logic. So before you step up to the starting line, before the whistle blows and the clock starts ticking, just remember, out here, the results don't always add up. No matter what the stats may say, and the experts may think, and the commentators may have predicted, when the race is on, all bets are off. Don't be surprised if somebody decides to flip the script and take a pass on yelling uncle. And then suddenly, as the old saying goes, we got ourselves a game.
Breaks down the sideline, uses his blockers, still going for the touchdown. Intercepted by J.J. Watt. Touchdown, Houston. Going deep for Johnson. Wide open, got it. Touchdown.
Beat, yo. Yeah, make a beat, yo.
I mean, this is awesome. You know, I mean, from the first day of free agency, Rick called me, and I think we both knew, you know, just from the conversation, how things were going and how this can work. Just was a matter of time of getting it done. And, I mean, first I'd like to thank Rick for the call and Mr. Bob for reaching out and telling Rick to go out, you know, reach out to me, you know, and just the organization for just laying out the red carpet on the visit. You know, everybody's just such great people. You know, it was a good time that I enjoyed just being around good people. And, I mean, the facility is just, you know, it's great. You know, it's awesome. You know, it's for a guy in my career, this late in my career, at this age, you know, you think about things differently. And, you know, I still love football. Know I could play football. And it just was a matter of being somewhere that fits, you know, for me and the team. You know, and I thought that the team knew what they wanted and understood that my fit to their team, this organization, was perfect timing. You know, and, I mean, I prayed on it very hard and left it in the man's hand. And honestly, he showed me, you know, well before it even happened, that this was the home, you know, that I would be in next. And, I mean, it was just awesome to go from a great franchise to another great franchise. And knowing that we had some classic battles when I was with Baltimore, and knowing that, you know, now I'm in that battle red soon to come. and I can be a part of a great organization, that I know already what they want to do, and that's win a championship. And I came here to do just that and help, as best I could with helping guys, whatever it may be on the football field or off the football field, for this community. I'm all about working out and winning a championship when I'm training, so that would never change. And I hope that, and I know that Bob knows and Rick knows that's what they get in championship effort every time.
Words can't describe this, getting to come home and play football, man. This is a dream come true. I was fortunate enough to play in the silver and black for 13 years and had a great time doing it. Always followed the Texans since they brought the franchise here. And it's just something that, I've been looking forward to for a while. I thought it was going to happen 4 years ago, but, Mr. Davis offered something that I was not going to turn down. And now that that's out of the way and signing today here in Houston is, I'm very excited.
You surprised they didn't make an effort to keep you?
I am, but, that's in the past now. I knew when I hit free agency this year, I knew there was one place that I had in target in mind, and that was here. And luckily it worked out. The situations worked out, and, everything fell into place.
Shane, it's one thing to be able to play in your hometown, but it's another if it's a really good football team. What impresses you about this team?
Oh, this team is, it's an exciting football team. To be able to go out and just have the feeling of winning and get into the playoffs and knowing every Sunday that you got a shot. I was fortunate enough to play in Oakland as a rookie and get beat in the AFC Championship game by Baltimore the year they won it. And then the next year the Tuck Rule game, the next year the Super Bowl. So, all that stuff happened so early in my career that I really I guess you would say, took it for granted. I thought this is how it's going to be the whole time. And, turned out 10 straight years after that, it wasn't how it was. And I'm very excited to get back to the postseason and excited for good things to happen here. And, it's been a long time since I got to the end of the year and had something to play for, so I'm ready for it.
Last year, they said you had an off year, and you averaged 47.2. What happened to your 39 net? Was it because of your surgery?
I don't really know. There's a lot of things that kind of went into that. I had the surgery the first day of training camp, and it was a minor operation, but I rushed back into it a little bit quick, and so it took me into about week 4 or 5 of the regular season to be back onto my game, and I kind of fell behind the 8 balls numbers-wise. If you want to talk about numbers, I kind of fell behind the 8 ball numbers-wise. But after that, second half of the season, I felt like I was back to my old self.
What goes into being the leading punter in NFL history?
Well, there's a lot of things. There's, you're gonna have to be very lucky sometimes, and I've been given a lot of God-gifted talent, and and to be able to put that into situations where I can take advantage of some fields and some field position and stuff like that. But, as far as numbers go, I've been fortunate enough to have some pretty good ones. I'm not coming into Houston trying to say, man, I can, especially in a controlled environment, which would be hard to not cut loose every time. But, I'm coming in here to punt the ball set the defense up the best I possibly can.
A lot of great punters have punted really well into their late 30s, early 40s. How good do you feel physically now compared to where you were early on in your career?
I feel way better than I did last year before the surgery, I'll tell you that. And, one of my goals is to go 20 years. So, I still got a while to go, and I feel like I can do it with no problem, barring any injury that, comes out of nowhere. But, I'm ready to go until they say, you know what, you need to get out of here and stop doing this.
Do you keep an off-season home in Houston?
Yes, I live right outside in Richmond. I live there, and I've lived there. I lived in the Katy area first, and then moved and built a house in Richmond, and have lived there ever since.
Can you talk a little bit more about just how nice it's going to be here now, playing here as well?
No, it's going to be outstanding, because now I got family, friends, all the support. My hometown, East Bernard. Just everybody's excited. After the news hit last night that I was going to sign today, my phone was nonstop from 6 o'clock till, I stopped looking at it about 11, and it was just steady going off. So, everybody's excited for me, and I'm excited to be able to perform in front of them again, and just go out and put on a good show for these guys.
You brought up 4 years ago. Did you think at that time you missed your opportunity to play here in Houston?
I thought I did, and I just didn't know that things were going to line up like they did again for me. I thought maybe I did lose the opportunity, but that was a risk I didn't want to take. That was a decision I had to make. It was kind of one of those things where it was a no-brainer. I had to go back to Oakland, and Mr. Davis and what the Davis family has done for me financially, my family financially, has really extremely taken care of me, let me do some things that, without them I wouldn't have been able to do. So my hat's off to Mr. Davis and Mark Davis's son and Carol and all those. And I'm fortunate enough to have been able to play in the silver and black for that long, and I had a good career, and I appreciate everything they did for me.
Can you talk about your family in the area? I know you got a lot.
No, yes, I do. I got, my parents live in Sealy, Texas, and I got one set of grandparents that live in Wharton. The other one lives in East Bernard, and my brother's down in Mont Bellevue. So I have cousins, friends, everybody. And East Bernard's such a small town, I think everybody kind of feel like family all, throughout the whole town. So it's I got a lot of support here, and I think they're all looking forward to it just as much.
Nobody's going to jump up and take the 27th overall pick because the Texans just made that selection. And now the Broncos are on the clock. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll see if the Texans have, in fact, added another wide receiver to that arsenal to go across Andre Johnson, or it's going to be somebody else. There's been a run on protectors of quarterbacks, but not quarterbacks themselves. Back with more live from NFL Network.
Every week in the NF Team Lexus GS. This is the pursuit of perfection.
Welcome back. That is the draft room of the Denver Broncos. I don't even need to tell you who that is in the middle of the screen right there. You don't even know. Who are they watching? What's going on here? Come on, Elway. Turns and church. That's on the other wall. Is that right, Mooch? Absolutely. Okay, good job, buddy. Draft Tracker presented by Lexus. Follow every single pick on NFL.com's Draft Tracker. Follow every team. They have everything you need. For all you second window freaks who like having computers open while watching television. The pick is in for the Houston Texans. And we're waiting to hear what's going to come out of the Two Johns war room in Denver. But right now, here's the Texans pick.
With the 27th pick in the 2013 NFL Draft, the Houston Texans select DeAndre Hopkins, wide receiver, Clemson.
So here's your wide receiver. It's DeAndre Hopkins out of Clemson, Irv.
And DeAndre, if you see he ran a 4.57 there, and I talked about it, but this is a big guy that can make plays. And when you want to, you got Andre Johnson already, and he can get up the field. He can go. I really like the way this guy makes plays. And who does he remind me of? He reminds me a lot of Rowdy White, a guy that's hard, plays football, plays all over the field, plays anywhere you need him to play. Rowdy White goes inside and plays. He makes plays outside. That's why I like DeAndre Hopkins. This is a good pickup. Kevin Walters no longer in Houston. This is what I talked about last year was the problem for the Houston Texans. They needed that other guy, that other receiver, and they just picked him up.
If you want to argue with that pick, put the LSU tape on. 13 catches for 191. LSU's a pretty good football team, right? He took the game over in the fourth quarter. He had 8 catches against a draftable corner, a first-round safety. He took the game over when it mattered the most. He's a little bit below the radar. He's a big-body guy that competes as well as anybody I've seen in college football. I would bang the table for him, even though he's not a burner.
Well, they must have done their housekeeping, if you will, on
I knew you were going there, Rich.
Indianapolis housekeeping issues, and they went ahead and drafted What? That's what everyone was talking about for the last 10 days.
You couldn't do it medically. Hey, Rich, and the Dolphins made the number 54 pick with Jamar Taylor. That was the pick they were dangling to the Chiefs for Brandon Albert. That trade, very doubtful now.
To announce the Houston Texans selection, please welcome from Texas A&M, a 4th-round draft pick in the 1998 draft, center Steve McKinney.
With the 57th pick in the 2013 NFL Draft, the Houston Texans select DJ Swearinger, defensive back, South Carolina.
Certainly fits a need for the Houston Texans. Remember, Danielle Manning plays one safety. Ed Reed plays the other safety now. All they have behind is Shiloh Kao. That's a great move to get them younger and more aggressive on defense. This kid will play all 4 special teams and eventually take over for Ed Reed when he's due to retire. He'll also play in some of the nickel packages. He can play the nickel or the sub linebacker because he's so tough. He's got good size. He's one of the better tackling defensive backs in this draft.
He will absolutely strike you. There's times he will come from center field, rotate to either side of the field, and if you don't have your head on a swivel, he will run right through you. Yeah. And he sets a tone for a defense when he makes the kind of hits that we're talking about and really polices up an area. Like him better closer to the line of scrimmage, but he can play some of that deep middle if you end up running some crossing
he's
routes.
Right on that edge because he's been penalized a little too often. That's how aggressive he is, Rich. Somewhat conflicted pick in the sense that his talent would be a late 1 to mid 2.
Next pick in the 2013 NFL Draft, the Houston Texans select Brennan Williams, tackle, North Carolina.
North Carolina, that is another offensive lineman. Jonathan Cooper went with pick number 7. Brennan Williams was their starting right tackle. And he fits in pretty well with what the Texans need to do because on the right side, Rashad Butler is a free agent. Dwayne Brown holds down the left side, and he'll compete with Ryan Harris, who just re-signed for the starting right tackle position. He's long, he's pretty talented. Charles, I thought he might have been able to play left tackle, but I just don't think he has the feet for it.
I watched 2 tapes because I had the same question. I made a phone call to a very good friend in North Carolina. He backed that up, Mike. He said he thinks he's a right tackle. And what's interesting about this young man is when we think of these offensive linemen, we want that little mean, that little nasty, right? We like those guys that finish people off.
Yep.
This young man's a little bit different. Kind of an artsy type of a guy, really dabbles in that a lot, you know, does just off a little bit different free spirit type that drives some of those offensive line coaches bonkers. They don't want to see that at all, but the talent is there. He can play, and he can serve a very good purpose for Houston on the right side to help Arian Foster and, of course, protect Matt Schaub.
A tackle with a 3rd-round grade just went to the Texans.
Was that Quessenberry?
Yes.
Sir.
See, now, I'll put my hand up and say that I knew the league value wasn't where I had him. He's one of those guys I fell in love with at the Senior Bowl. San Jose State kid, not a highly rated kid, doesn't have the measurables to tell you he's a starting tackle or guard. But at the Senior Bowl, I thought he understood angles, leverage, and he's a longer arm, better football player than people think. So I went back to San Jose State and said, is he a natural bender? Does he have everything you want? Maybe not. But at the Senior Bowl, he blocked everybody. He's got positional versatility, and what do we always talk about on Sundays? You can only dress 7 offensive linemen. He can play 4 of the 5 positions on the team, and I'll put my hand up and say I'm not even sure he's not a left tackle. He's so good at understanding the game of football.
I agree 100%. We played against this young man for years, and he has played all across the offensive line. He can play inside. He can play outside. Yep. He's got height. He's got length. Yep. He's got enough athletic ability, and at the very least, they have to run around him. At least Barons have to run around him. He can kick well enough. This kid, I think, is a great pick. I think he should have gone earlier as well.
Yeah, that was 176 overall. What the Texans got him at. That's a value pick in your book right there, Mike Mayock.
Cushing tore his left ACL last year in just the Texans' 5th game. He says having to watch all those others from the sidelines is definitely a motivation for him.
It was extremely frustrating. I mean, we were rolling as a team. We were doing great, 5-0. I mean, just remember that plane ride back, how frustrated I was, just thinking, I'm not going to play football for the rest of this year. It was something I've never had before. I never had a season-ending injury before. I've never missed more than, a game. But at the same time, I knew I'd be back eventually. And I just worked to that day, to come back and to eventually run out of the tunnel again and just be back with my teammates. So it was all pointing towards coming back.
He ain't went yet. I'm looking to see what he got, because he looked like one of the medical miracles, He talking like it too, so I'm looking to see the Kush to get back, man. I think he brings a lot of personality and attitude to our defense. We miss him.
It's great to have a guy like Kush back. He flies around the field. He makes plays. He's a natural playmaker, and you love having a guy like that for me, playing right behind me. And it's big for our defense.
Cushing's injury did have one positive impact on his life. He was able to be there with his wife Megan when she gave birth to their first son Caden just a week after he tore his ACL. The outside linebacker says he's worked hard in rehab so Caden can finally see his dad on TV.
I think once you become a father, it changes your mindset on a lot of different things, and pretty much everything you do, is for him. So I mean, I got a lot more to prove now, and I got a little boy that's never seen me play football before, so obviously I want to play for a lot of years and show him who his dad is.
The former Defensive Rookie of the Year is hoping to overcome the serious knee injury he suffered last season and get back to playing high-level football, both for himself, his teammates, and most importantly, his family. Reporting from Texans training camp in Houston, Chris Thomason, 3 Sports. The Houston Texans defense, once known as a punchline around the NFL, has done a complete 180 thanks in large part to reigning Defensive Player of the Year, J.J. Watt. Watt's rise from a pizza delivery boy in college to the NFL's top defender is reflective of the mindset he plays with on the field. Get to your goal no matter what.
I'm always the one going after people. I don't care if you're in first place or in last place, I'm coming at you. And I think that's the mentality you have to have. You have to have that hunter mentality, that mentality that no matter who you're playing, no matter what their record is, no matter what kind of players they have, you need to prove why you're the best team on the field.
Watt has been the talk of the Texans this offseason. Earlier this month, Brian Cushing said he could be the best defensive player ever. Wade Phillips says he's got the work ethic of several Hall of Famers he's coached.
I got a guy going in the Hall of Fame this year, Curly Culp, Elvin Bethea, who also was in the Hall of Fame, Reggie White and Bruce Smith, who were also in the Hall of Fame. They were all great players, but they had the will to be better all the time, and JJ has that will.
When you get a guy like Wade that says the things Wade said, and you get a guy like Cush that said what he said, those are the guys that see me on a daily basis. Those are the guys that see the work that's put in, that see every single day, and that's why it means so much. If some outsider that watches my games every Sunday says something like that, okay, it's a nice compliment. But a guy who watches the work that's put in and a guy who knows me, that means a lot.
Watt's 20.5 sacks and 16 tip passes last year made for one of the best defensive seasons in NFL history. It's a year that would be hard for anyone to replicate, yet alone improve upon, but Watt says that's exactly what he plans to do.
I know a lot of people in this league and a lot of analysts and everybody are, when they talk about me, they start to say, he's not going to be able to do what he did last year, but he's going to have a good year. So, why not? Why not? Don't sit here and tell me what I can and can't do. There's so much more to be better at. There's sacks I miss here and there. There's a couple plays in the run game I miss here and there. There's some balls that could have been batted that weren't batted. I'm by far my harshest critic, and I have by far the highest expectations out of anyone in the entire world.
The Texans and their fans are hoping Watt can fulfill those expectations and eventually work his way to becoming an all-time great. Based on the path he's blazed so far, it's hard to bet against it. Reporting from Texans training camp in Houston, Chris Thomason, 3 Sports. The Texans have one goal in mind, even though they won't say the words themselves, Super Bowl 48 in New York.
I think the team is focused. I think the attitude around here is very, very focused. The guys in here we've been working our tails off this offseason. Division championships, that's cool, but that's old news. First round playoff wins, cool, but that's old news. We have one singular goal.
I think everybody feels like we got something to prove because, we are becoming a team that got used to winning, and now winning is old, and we just want to win the big one. Our chip on our shoulder is that trophy.
Anytime you don't win the last game of the season, it's a disappointment. So I think losing is a part of the NFL. Like you can use it as your anchor or use it as your sail. So, that's basically what we've done this offseason is, we put it behind us and it's time to move forward and try to develop a new identity for this organization in this city.
Part of that new identity rests with Houston's prize free agent signing Ed Reed. The future Hall of Fame safety is on the shelf during camp while he recovers from hip surgery. But when he comes back, the Texans are hoping his talent and perhaps more importantly, his experience will push their defense into the NFL's elite category.
I hope we're going to the end zone many, many times. Ed and I talk about it all the time. I want to be tipping him interceptions all the time. Ed will take care of the back end. I'll take care of the front end. I mean, we got guys all over the place taking care of the middle and the outside. So this defense is going to be a blast.
Ed Reed is like Yoda. He got a lot of wisdom, man. I mean, from top to bottom. You know, what he brings to the game, experience, and winning the big game is going to help us. You know, we need as much as that as we can get.
The Texans have gotten used to winning, but now they've got to get used to finishing. Ed Reed should have a hand in that as Houston looks to make a run at Super Bowl 48 in February. Reporting for Texans training camp in Houston, Chris Thomason, 3 Sports.
You can't play through it. It's not like you're not played through a broken collarbone. I played through a lot of things, but like this is just something you can't. And there's no reason to right now. So, you know, I'm just going to take my time, and when I feel 100% confident, I'll be back.
Foster suffered the injury during OTAs this past spring, has been rehabbing ever since. Rehabbing so much, he says he hasn't had much of a summer vacation at all.
Well, I just want to, you know, help out my team and be the best me I could be for my squad, and that's what I've been working towards. I've put in so much work. I didn't even take a vacation this offseason. I took one for 4 days, but that was it. And I've just been working the entire offseason. As an athlete, you always have to try to reinvent yourself, and you always have to push yourself to the limits. And I think this year I just took my training regimen to another level, and you know, we'll see the results.
Part of being the best me he can be is taking up acting. Besides a guest shot on Hawaii Five-0 he filmed last February at the Pro Bowl, Foster is also guest starring in a new movie called Draft Day with Jennifer Garner, Kevin Costner, Dennis Leary, which was filmed in New York on, of course, Draft Day. Foster's supposed to have a pretty big role in it. Kind of funny when you think that he was undrafted out of the University of Tennessee back in 2009. Joe, that is it for Texans training camp in Houston. I'm Clay Williams, Action 4 Sports.
Back to work here on this Monday. There's J.J. Watt. And to make that defense better, they brought Ed Reed in from Baltimore. To make this show better, Heath, we sent Deion Sanders to Houston prime time. And the former teammates in Baltimore went one-on-one after practice.
Ed Reed, what's up, baby?
What's up with it?
First and foremost, are you healthy?
I'm getting there.
You getting there?
I'm getting there. I'm probably about 75, 80%.
But you know, your 75, 80 is everyone's 100.
Yeah.
So if the game were today.
Which one?
The regular season. I don't even discuss preseason with you. Please. You're savvy that, baby. If the first game were today.
I wouldn't play.
You wouldn't play?
I wouldn't play today.
You don't believe it?
I wouldn't.
I don't believe it.
I wouldn't play because of the long haul of the season. You know how much of that grind is. And, I mean, when we got to make that run at the end of the season, that's when I plan to be there. More importantly, you know, do I want to be the first game? Yes. Am I glad it's not today? Yes. If the Super Bowl is today, I'm playing.
We got a month, though.
Yeah.
We got a month.
Yeah, we do. We still got a lot of time, and honestly, I feel good today. I feel a lot good. I feel a lot better than I did yesterday because 7 days of straight work, no recovery, and I got to recover. And right now, I'm recovering. You know, took the day off, feeling good, moving good. You know, I could move around like I told Coach. I could probably be out here. You know, but at the same time, it wouldn't be smart.
Right.
You know, because that toll of that, you know how it is, that long season, man, to get you.
So tell me this. Why would people bring up your age? Is it just because the way your head looking up under the hat?
Probably. Most likely, you know, because I, you know, don't cut my hair. I got the
don't put it back on. Please put it back on. Please put it back on.
You always got to
please put it back on. But I never bring up your age because you haven't shown me reason to. Because you're still playing like a perennial All-Pro, which you are, a Pro Bowler.
Yeah.
So why do critics bring up your age?
That's what critics do. That's how they keep their job.
Yeah.
You know, so it's all good. I mean, I know I'm 34. You know, I feel 34. You know, but at the same time, you know, I know how to play this game. I know I can still play this game. You know, and I know guys who did it, you know, at the age of 34. Just Warren Sapp won the, you know, the Hall of Fame. You know, he mentioned it.
Yeah.
You know, and they went to the Super Bowl in Oakland when he was 34.
But they're expecting Ed Reed here.
Yeah.
You know, the Ed Reed I know.
That's what
because this team here gave up more deep balls than anyone in the game.
Yeah, and that's not going to be you know, the thing that gets us over that hump. We got to bring that weight down.
Right.
You know, we got to be top 5 with that, you know. And
so you can still come off the hash.
Oh, yeah.
You can still come out that middle.
Well, I've been told the guys, even in Baltimore, look, I'm not covering your fade anymore. So I'm not saying on that fade. Let's make it a hell of a break. You know, so
you told the Super Bowl champion before you're a Super Bowl champion, I'm not going to be there on the fade.
Oh,
you got to.
The middle of the field is mine.
The middle of the field is yours.
It's mine now.
Yeah.
You know, I used to really say that a lot when I was younger, but now the middle of the field is totally mine.
I see you doing a lot of this at practice.
Mm-hmm.
That means you're doing a lot of teaching.
Yeah.
What are you telling these guys?
I mean, just today, like talking to Bonner, he asked me about the coverages. Like, how can he get better at the coverages? I'm like, read your corners, read your safeties. You know, study the tape. You know, more or less than none. I mean, the experiences, the knowledge that we have, that's what we're supposed to give it to the younger guys. You know, that's why you're here. You know, and I can come to you and ask you as a friend and as a brother, can you talk to the DBs? You know, because you're the best to do it. You know, and our corners need to get that. Our corners need to know, look, Prime's the best to do it. Ask him anything. Pick his brain, man. Whatever it may be, man. You know, I mean, you showed me, Ray showed me, you know, took me under your wing, man. The times we used to go take those trips and work on them kids just out the country, man. You know, giving like that of yourself, that rubs off on people. You know, and I appreciate it, you know, and we keep going with it. You know, so.
Love you, brother.
Love you too, man.
Ed Reed.
And let's go live to Houston. Deion Sanders back with us, and Heath Evans with me in studio. We start right there, Deion, with the man you spent time with, Ed Reed. And you said age should not matter with him. When you watch him, he still looks 24 instead of 34 to you?
Ed looks 34 in the head. Matter of fact, he looks like Django with his hat on. But Ed, body-wise, his physicality, he can play this game still at a high level. I would never mention his age until he showed me reason. Ed Reed is not only a fantastic football player, he's a great person. He's a motivator. He encourages the guys, but he teaches these guys the game. The dilemma that Ed is going to have is working with Wade Phillips. He could get along with anybody, but Wade has to listen to Ed as well when it comes to game planning, because Ed studies his butt off, and he has a feeling not just of the game, but he knows his players in what position to put them into to be successful.
Deion, I love where you just went, because that is the prime example. This is probably my favorite offseason signing, because you look inside the division, you look at the matchup of Wade and Ed together, you get Brian Cushing back, you look at the quarterbacks you're playing, you're really trying to beat Andrew Luck, which you know as well as I do. If Ed Reed can frustrate the Aaron Rodgers, the Brees, the Bradys of the world, he's going to frustrate this young pup too. But then you look at the other two teams in this division, talking about Blaine Gabbert, you know, we talk about Jake Locker. This guy is going to wreak havoc throughout the course of this division all season long, whether he's there week 1 or not. When he gets back, I mean, Paul, this signing was brilliant for so many reasons. This defense gets so much better, and we saw the statistical numbers last year, even without Brian Cushing. This defense wasn't bad. You get Brian Cushing back on those sub and nickel situations, and now you've got Ed Reed truly, like he just said, truly manning that middle third. That's his space. Quarterbacks don't mess with him. The Bradys, the Brees, the Rodgers, all the greats, they stay away from him. These young quarterbacks in this division better stay away from him as well. Well, they went after that Texans defense last year. The quarterbacks you mentioned, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, also you throw in Aaron Rodgers. I think in the 4 games combined against that Texans D, they had 15 touchdowns and 0 interceptions a year ago. I want to get back to what you said, Deion, though, about Ed Reed and his relationship with defensive coordinator Wade Phillips. You said Wade has to listen to him. How big of an ask is that to have a veteran defensive coordinator listen to a veteran safety like that?
It's not a big ask, because Wade Phillips, I think he still has a desire to be a head coach somewhere, and he should. Got a raw deal in Dallas. We all know that. But he is really good at what he does. Now, he wants to win, and the next progression for this team is to get to the Super Bowl. They've gone to the playoffs. They've won a playoff game. Now let's get to the Super Bowl. You can do that with this guy. This guy has a feeling, not just an emotion, but a true feeling for the game. He has knowledge. We were talking about teams that they're not even playing this year that he knows about. He studied them in the offseason. All practice long, he takes these guys up on the wing and say, you see, this is what's going to happen, that's what's going to happen. I've seen this guy. This is not something I've heard. I played with Ed Reed. So when I'm speaking, this is the gospel, the good news that I've seen on a first-hand basis for myself playing with this guy. He's the best that has ever done it at that position.
I agree, Deion, completely. And to follow up, Paul, with you, just listen, I don't think this is a big ask at all, because you look at J.J. Watt last year, the rhetoric that was coming out of his mouth about Wade, how they would study together and how he would come to J.J. and be like, hey, where are you most comfortable this week? How can I get you in the matchups you want? And if he's taking that from a second-year player last year in J.J. Watt, you can guarantee that he's going to pull Ed Reed aside. Hey, what are you seeing? What are you feeling? What are you thinking? And lean on those years of just that circumstantial experience of being in the war with these guys. So I'm excited to watch this defense, and I don't want to leave Brian Cushing out of the mix because he makes this defense a lot better, especially in all the passing situations. But this is going to be a heck of a defensive football team this year.
All right, Dean, I know you spent time with the defensive backs there in Houston. They asked you to communicate with them, and you did. Can you share a little bit about what you had to say to those guys?
Well, I just wanted to talk to them about how serious this game is. This is a game that we love to play, but it's not a job. It can be a career. Some of these young guys look at it as a job in the early stages in their life, but it can be a career if you put into it. One thing about this game, whatever you put into it, it's going to give that back to you. The study habits, the preparation. You got all kind of vehicles. When Heath and I played, they didn't have the type of technology that allows you to study as often as you may endeavor. I mean, it's so many vehicles to get you prepared for the game. It's unbelievable, and I just want these guys to understand you can be the best if you desire to, but it takes a lot of work.
Deion, did you go to Houston expecting to see the very best team in the AFC? Because a couple of years ago they were mentioned as a pretty good playoff team. Now they're going to be, I mean, let's face it, they're going to be judged based off of what they do in January. Are you there expecting to see the very best team in that conference?
Well, that's arguable. I mean, I think they really got better in the offseason, what he alluded to. Brian Cushing is an unbelievable player. We give J.J. Watt a lot of credit, and we should, because he is loaded. Yes, I believe he can. But this is the year. I'm tired. I'm out of my seatbelt. It's time to land this plane, baby. It's no more waiting, expectation. Let's do it. This is the year for Matt Schaub to maturate and take him to the promised land.
And whether he can do that, the Houston Texans getting beyond just being a playoff team into being a Super Bowl contending team, that's the topic of our social media question here on this Monday on Inside Training Camp Live.
But right now she's just living her dream, man. She's, not working. I'm making sure she's okay.
Critics came at you last year, Dre. They said you lost a step.
Yeah,
Come on, how big are you, man? How big are you? You lost a step.
No, man.
You still got it?
I still got it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm not worried about what everybody has to say. That's just motivation, man. I mean, I'm 32 now. People say you can't do it. They wrote me off last year. I finished second in the league in yards. So, I don't really care what people.
Man, how you do? I was watching you practice today. You had a set out of this world. You had a 9.
Right.
You did take me through that. Take me through that. You had a 9. The corner was right here.
Right.
You was bumping and running.
So I just pushed him outside.
And he right here.
I set him here.
And he turned his heels and you went there.
Yeah.
You know what? That looked slow, but when I saw it in real motion, I said, Dre, that was a nice set, dog. That was a nice set. So now you're not just playing with your athletic ability.
Right.
You're playing with your mind.
You have to play smarter, man. As time go along, you get older. I'm not 21 no more. But nah, man. I have to play smarter as a player, and when you play smarter, man, things work out for you.
Ed Reed told me you guys are doing some stuff to really get you where you need to be health-wise, so you don't have those hamstring problems anymore.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. He got me to cycling this off-season.
Yeah.
He actually bought me a Tour de France bike, when he first got
Tell
me.
them Ed Reed bought you a Tour de France bike.
Ed Reed bought me a Tour de France bike.
To help those hamstrings.
Yeah, help my hamstrings. So I was on that in my garage, going at it every day. So, when I came back to camp, man, my legs felt good and everything. So I'm ready to go, man.
You look good, man.
Appreciate it.
Congratulations.
All right, thanks.
I need more than 4 touchdowns out you.
I agree with you.
I need more than 4.
I agree.
All right. We're good.
All right, are the Texans Super Bowl contenders? It's our social media question today. Most of you agree, but not by a whole lot. 54 to 46. This one is still a race. You can continue to share your opinion via Twitter, via Facebook, and we'll continue to share results throughout Inside Training Camp Live. Let's go back to Houston and welcome in our Ian Rappaport, and we get it right back to that Texans defense. They get Brian Cushing back this year. How much of a difference do you think that's going to make?
Well,
Paul, my understanding is it's going to make a huge difference. And just to understand how much of a difference, just look at last year. The Texans were rolling as an entire unit. Then Cushing went down, and things started to go downhill. So here's what I'm being told about Brian Cushing, who, as you mentioned, is coming back from that torn ACL. He is ready right now. I talked to Wade Phillips, their defensive coordinator, yesterday about this. He said he can still run like the Cushing of old. He said he can still accelerate. He can still move. He's not fully taking part in practice yet, but I'm being told that's a precaution, that if the season started right now, Cushing would not only be on the field, but in his full role, not coming off even on third downs.
Cushing coming back from a torn ACL. Brian Balaga.